Hello, welcome to Wisdom at the Well. Today is a Fierce Awakening series call. I am here with April Lee, who is one of the co-authors of Fierce Awakenings, calling in the courage and confidence to walk life's spiral path. And this series is a number of interviews with the co-authors of this book. It's a collaborative book. We came together not knowing each other before, and we each wrote a chapter. April is chapter 9, Mirrors. And I'm going to just turn this over to April right now to introduce herself. And April, I'm just so thrilled you're here. We get to connect and we get to talk about your chapter. We get to talk about the spiral path, fierce awakenings, and like what this project was for you. So welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Sarah. It is so good to be here with you.
Oh, yes.
Wow. So it's been 2 years since we published,
Yeah.
and I have been in a huge transition since that time.
Mm.
So um, it's actually hard for me uh, to talk about to introduce myself
Yeah.
because I've been through so much change these last couple years. But just to give a little background. For the last 25 years or so, I've been a craniosacral therapist and somatic practitioner
Mm.
and teacher and guide. And over these last 2 years, since publishing that story, I've felt like that chapter was wanting to retire in a certain way. I would say not everything that I've been doing has wanted to stay in the past, but I think the way that I do my work has been wanting to change. So it's taken some time. I feel like I've been moving through the spiral,
I'm sure.
wondering where am I going to land? When am I going to land? And it's been challenging, but what's kept me grounded is trust, faith,
Mhm.
and curiosity. Where is this all heading?
Right? And that's
Yeah.
that's just like an essential ingredient on the path, isn't it? So, oh, I have so many questions for you, even out of what you just shared. Okay, so for those who haven't read April's chapter yet, it's about your relationship with your father, who you didn't grow up with or around, but how you it confirmed for you your own being a healer, and then he even passed on some lineage healing for you, right?
Yeah.
So my question in that is, how did writing the chapter com contribute to completing that phase for you as it was?
Right. Well, the
Or
funny thing is that I called it mirrors because I felt like my father was the mirror that I never got growing up being raised by my grandparents. And it's almost like the writing the chapter was a mirror for myself. And I just realized that in this moment that that I called it mirrors and that the name of the story just came through after I wrote it. And I didn't second guess it. I didn't think about other names. That just was, I knew that was the name and I went with it.
Mhm.
And so now, 2 years later, talking with you, I'm realizing that, yeah, that story, it was a mirror for my own process, my own life, and just showing me what I've been through and where I was, at the time that I wrote the story.
Is it almost like the story chose you to write it at that time to actually see the mirror and complete something? Like it was, maybe you didn't know it at the time, but it was part of the completion process that was needed to
Mhm.
happen.
Absolutely. I believe that it was a kind of a catalyst for me to move into the next chapter of my life. So my daughter, she left for college 2.5, 3 years ago. So at the time that the opportunity to be part of Fierce Awakenings came up, I was really, reevaluating uh,
Mm.
what I was doing in my life and an identity, actually. So yeah, it was really perfect timing.
So many layers, so many questions. In this chapter, it's like you got to come into full identity with your father and his nationalities, his cultural heritage, right? And and I can imagine that that expanded and deepened how you identified. And then in terms of then you got to kind of let it go and then go, well, okay, who am I now?
Yeah, yeah. Who am I now? Well, I'll share that after writing and publishing that story, I sat with that question for a long time. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know exactly which path or, thread I'd want to follow. And what has come up is more writing. So,
Ask, yeah.
yeah, earlier this year, I created a Substack account and I started writing and publishing essays. So for the first time since publishing that story, I actually have been sharing my writing with the public. So that has been a huge step for
Had you
me,
been a writer before this chapter?
just for myself. Like I've been journaling since I was 9 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I felt for most of my life that I wanted to write for the public, but I didn't know what or how. I blogged a little bit after my daughter was born. It was kind of a mommy blog, for fun. And
Mhm.
then I got busy and it just fell to the wayside. But besides that, yeah, there was something, I felt like there was a lot I wanted to express, but um, I wouldn't say there was something in the way. It was almost like it wasn't time yet.
Yeah, right. I can get that. Yeah, there is a right timing for things and
Mhm.
they may need
Yeah,
to percolate and kind of ferment for a while.
right.
So while we're on Substack, what's your Substack? How would people find you?
It's called Heaven and Earth Blog.
Okay. Heaven and
That's
Earth
Substack.
blog.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. I love that. And what are you writing about?
Good question. I'm writing about um, what it means to be human
Mm.
through the lens of embodiment and consciousness and culture and technology. So before I became a healing arts and somatic practitioner, I worked in the tech world
Mm.
for almost 10 years. So I've had this interest in AI for a long time, not exactly knowing, how is this technology going to unfold in culture, right? And so now that it's here and it's slowly becoming integrated, well, actually, I should say like quickly becoming integrated into our lives, I'm kind of weaving AI and how that is mirroring who we are as humans.
Another
Um,
mirror.
and right, and what it means, exactly, what it means for humanity to have this technology entering into our lives in this powerful way. And my focus is often it's based in the nervous system and kind of the embodied experience.
Mm.
Yeah.
I haven't read any of your posts on Substack yet, but just what you're sharing calls me in and pulls me in. So I'm looking
Mm.
forward to that.
Thanks,
That's
Sarah.
and in that it on your platform where you're talking about AI and human, you're also talking about heaven and earth. And that's not usually connected with AI.
Well, so for me, heaven earth can mean a lot of things to a lot of people, right? That terminology is rooted in a lot of different traditions. And so for me, I have kind of a Taoist and Confucian background. And so heaven and earth is a concept that is woven into those traditions. And so for me, it means the in between. So you've got heaven and earth, and humans live in the realm in between. So a lot of what I write about and the way I see the world is from that perspective of the in between.
Mm.
being in that that space.
Yeah.
So yeah, and how we relate to both realms.
Yeah, I call it both and, right?
Right.
Living in the ampersand. It's both heaven and earth, human and divine, right?
Yes,
And yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like it's a whole ecosystem that we're
yes,
part of.
yeah. Oh, okay. I'm going to come back to Fierce Awakenings and the
Okay.
spiral path. I love that we got to touch on that though, because that's been part of your evolution
Yeah.
since Fierce Awakenings, and that in writing the chapter for Fierce Awakenings, you actually, it sounds like you went, oh, I am a writer, not just in my journals, and I'm actually a writer. And you then turn to Substack to actually start writing and sharing,
Mhm.
sharing your writing publicly. I just really want to acknowledge you for taking that step and like using this almost as your launching pad, or it's like as Jen and I were talking the other day, there's the spiral, but then it's almost like you have to kind of leap onto the next level of the spiral, and it sounds like that's what you did um in starting to write publicly. So I'm just kind of, I want to narrow in on the questions. So how has the idea, or has the idea of the spiral path, how has it held you or supported you to take the next step? Or as you said at the beginning, how did it help you trust
Hmm.
even going to say risk, writing publicly and
Mhm.
or being in this transition where you are like, well, really, what is next? Where am I going to?
Well, interestingly, timing wise, I just published an essay on Substack yesterday about invisibility. Sorry, not invisibility, visibility.
Oh, that was an interesting
That's
twist.
funny, right? Visibility versus alignment. And so I sprained my foot about 2 weeks ago,
Mhm.
and I've been kind of hobbling around for the last, couple weeks, and I've spent a lot of time at home with my leg
I can
elevated.
relate. I've hurt my foot. I know what you mean.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, it changes your life, right?
right?
Because suddenly you're immobile and you can't do all the things that you normally do. And so during the last 2 weeks, I've had a lot of time to just be with myself. And I felt like I had a choice that I could get really, busy and do all these things I've been, trying to get to on my to-do list, work on all my projects. And I decided instead of going that route, I was just going to let myself be in the in between in the space. Just give myself spaciousness. So in the spaciousness, what came up were, I think, some a lot of clarity about what it is meant to be more visible in the public, like stepping out and being seen in writing, in, teaching. I've been teaching cranial sacral for the last 4 years. That was a huge step for me because I always had this huge fear of being seen. And to the point where I would shut down. I wouldn't be able to do I wouldn't be able to teach a class or, write
The
in public.
crippling fear of,
Yeah, crippling fear. Absolutely. Like my nervous system would just freeze and I would leave my body. So I thought a lot about how for a lot of my life I felt like I had this creative force that wanted to be expressed, but I didn't know how, and I felt like the channel was blocked.
Mhm.
Like I
We
couldn't,
talked about that
like
in
I
the
had this
chapter.
fear, right? I
Yeah.
had this fear, right? And I couldn't express it. And over time, I learned how to be more comfortable with being visible. But what I realized um, over these last 2 weeks was that I had equated, I think, being in my full potential with visibility. Like I would like the idea that the cultural message that you are a value or you are in your full potential if you are out there and doing it and being seen. And you're loud and you've got this voice and people are following you and blah blah blah. I
Right.
realized that I had
You'd
internalized
collapse
that
the two
message.
almost, like you'd collapse
Yeah,
it into
right,
one.
right. And um, so yeah, so I ended up writing this essay yesterday about, or publishing this essay yesterday about visibility being tied to worth, to self-worth, versus what does it mean to be visible through alignment, through being connected to yourself, through
Oh,
your own timing.
wow.
So that's kind of the full, like, we're talking about spiral rungs. That's where I've arrived to. And then so I was, writing this essay this past week, I was thinking about my story in Fierce Awakenings and that entire experience. And so this talk with you today is like perfect timing.
Yeah. And that's usually how it works, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I am absolutely loving what you said about alignment. Visibility is alignment. So
That's what I'm finding.
in here,
Right.
not out there, and not about how many likes, how many this, but am I in alignment with myself, my message, whatever, like what is it that I want to express? Who am I and what's my contribution?
Yeah. And
That's
how
radical.
how often,
Right.
right? In what way? Not instead of like pushing or forcing
Yeah.
myself to do things that make me feel disconnected, that drain me,
Yeah.
just to be visible.
And
Because
it's like a chase, isn't it? It's never enough. So you always got to do more. And so you don't get to just fill with being you.
right. Yeah, because
Somehow mirrors, being a mirror, mirroring that to yourself. There's some like mirrors feels like such a profound theme or image for you. Like you've been able to mirror back to yourself your visibility. Oh, you've actually become visible in your own mirror. Like, oh, here I am. I see me in my alignment.
right.
Whew.
Yeah, and a lot of it is connected to being a highly sensitive person, to being a sensitive empath,
Yeah.
and not knowing like how does someone like who lives in the world with the sensitivity that I have let myself be seen.
Yes. You see yourself.
Yeah, and it's been a matter of like just finding that alignment, the way that works for me. And
Yeah.
so it doesn't have to be, total visibility in the way the cultural narrative leads us to believe it needs to be. And I don't have to stay quiet anymore. I can find my own way that works. I'm
I'm
working on it.
Well, and I'm just feeling so moved with what you're sharing. I just want to say thank you. Like,
Mm,
because that's a radical shift and perspective that you've come to and that you're offering and sharing. And
mm,
I know that there are many people out there who are chasing out there, and it's
yeah.
exhausting. And there's a lot of people who are acknowledging their sensitivity too. And that being out there like that, chasing some carrot and trying to fit some norm is exhausting. It's debilitating ultimately, right? And so then you're not really offering your gifts, you're chasing some idea of what it looks like, and then you forget, oh right, I'm doing this because I have something I really want to share. Instead, it gets all distorted and upside down, and it feels to me like where you've gone with this, it just goes,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Like, because, like, why am I doing this in the first place? Like, right?
Right?
Yeah.
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 Beautiful. Thank you.
Mhm.
I just want you to know I'm just so deeply receiving this. It's going in and kind of rearranging a few cells in here,
It's awesome.
right? I'm going to look at my questions just
Okay.
for something. So this is very new. If you've
Yeah.
just written this article, but the question I wanted to ask you, and so I don't know, let's just see what happens with it is
Okay.
what what has become the center of your spiral in these last 2 years? Like what would you say is the center for you now?
Ooh. Hmm. Well, I'm just gonna take a moment and feel into that question
Yeah,
and see what wants to come up.
yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. What is at the center of the spiral? Well, I'll tell you, Sarah, what's coming. So I'm at the final stage of perimenopause.
Mm,
And so the last 2 years since we've published our book have been very much about that phase of life.
yeah.
And I have been slowing down. Um, or maybe I should say my body
Right? Okay, good
is
distinction.
kind of forcing a little bit. I can't, a lot has changed for me physically, mentally, emotionally through this transition.
Mm,
And, I talk to some women who say, oh, yeah, it wasn't too bad for me. Like I just kind of breezed through it, or, I took hormones and I was good. And I'm not a candidate for HRT. So that wasn't even an option for me. So I've just been, raw dogging the, the process. And, maybe it's partially being a highly sensitive person too, and being a somatic practitioner and being so aware of my own felt sense. But it's not been easy.
mm.
And I feel like I've been transforming into a different person. And so through this whole process, I've been faced with a lot of more limitations physically. So I haven't been able to do what I normally do. Like my joints ache and
Mm.
I get fatigued really easily. And I'm hoping that this is not permanent. I'm hoping that this is temporary and that things will integrate and I'll get some of my energy and physicality back. But so it's what it's taught me is that I can't fight it. It's like force of nature. It's just happening. There's nothing I can do about it,
Mhm.
you know? And so I've been learning how to be with it. So, I used to try to walk 10,000 steps with my dogs every day, and my knees are not happy with that. So now I walk 5,000 steps or 4,000 or 3,000 steps a day with my dogs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, my sleep patterns have changed, so I've changed how I sleep. Um, the amount of time I spend out in the world, like socializing or, the how I work on my creative projects, how much I work, all of that has had to shift based on this new way of being in the world.
So it
So
sounds
I would say
like,
that,
yeah.
yeah, that's been at the center.
So being with what is
Right,
at the center now, rather than it should be another way, fighting it,
right.
fixing it, like
Yeah,
you're just in the experience of what is.
yes, exactly. Yeah, it's been a hard lesson.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, there's been a lot of acceptance, but
Yeah.
it's I feel like it's a new normal
Hmm.
that I'm getting used to. And I feel like I'm wiser now, having gone through that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You've received the gifts from the challenges.
right.
Yeah. Mm. I can noticing we're getting close to our time here. So I'd love to ask you a final question in here. And so you can go one of two ways. What does Fierce Awakenings mean to you now? Or you could go in through the doorway of what does the spiral path mean to you now? Like what has evolved for you in your experience with either one of these? And I just look kind of, you go where you feel called to go.
I feel like the spiral path is showing me just more about how life unfolds and emerges. And it's just full of surprises. Just like I was, sharing about how all this stuff was coming up over the last couple of weeks around our story, I mean, our book and invisibility. I'm sure, I think a part of me thought that maybe Fierce Awakenings was in the past somehow.
Mhm.
Like it hadn't really felt that alive for me for a while, for at least a year or so. And now it's all coming back. And I feel like it's this story, this book, that experience is such a fundamental part of my path and my story. And now that I've come back to that, to another rung on the spiral around this, it all makes sense. And there's no, it's like not it's not intellectual, it's not in the mind, it's just an embodied knowing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, here I am again. And all of this is, yeah, it's so fundamental to who I am and my path. So it's a remembering
Yeah.
and it's surprising. And I think that it also reinforces that trust that we were talking about at the beginning.
Like that there is a path there, whether you see it or not,
Right.
whether you even acknowledge it or not, it's still there.
Life isn't linear.
No.
And if we
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say if we allow ourselves to listen, to really listen and to take our time and to allow,
Yeah.
yeah,
It is a
life will show us,
life
right?
will absolutely show us, right?
Yeah.
And things will show up in your life to show you, just like how your dad showed up in your life.
Yeah.
Exactly when and that's the miraculous of life really is we don't know, like you were saying, we don't know.
Yeah.
So, final question as we complete the interview is, so what next? From everything you've shared, if you could like invite in the next step for you on the spiral path, what feels like even in the not knowing, even in the transition, kind of like what he feels could be opening for you?
Yeah. Well, I have a couple projects that have been percolating, and a couple of them I've started. So one is called The Unseen Thread, and it's related to a family book of mine that was translated from ancient Chinese to English last 2 years ago. And I don't know if I shared that with you, with the
I'd
group
love for
yet.
you to share it here though, because I
Yeah,
that's why I'm smiling.
yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a book that was passed down. So I'm a fifth generation American, and so this book made it to America in the 1800s, and no one in my family knew what it was. No one who's living knew what it was. They thought maybe it was a cookbook or something. And one of my family members had it translated in China to English, and we realized it was a lineage going back 2,500 years. So I'm the 76th generation from that book. But in
Wow.
um, Chinese tradition, they only record the firstborn sons, and sometimes like the second, third sons, but they don't ever record the daughters. And then wives are mentioned, but only by their family names. So I felt called to give voice to the women
Mhm.
who weren't named in the book. Yeah. So that's a project that's coming through.
Beautiful.
And yeah, and I feel like I'm just as far as like the writing and, I'm teaching and guiding and all of that, I feel like that is still forming. It's like I sense it's like an ecosystem, and I can't see it clearly yet,
That's
but
the big
something's
I don't
there.
know.
It's so big, I don't know, right?
Right.
And I'm just, taking it step by step,
Yeah.
see what
Well,
it wants
one
to
hobbly
unfold.
step right now, but when you get back on your,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Is there any last thing you just want to share to just kind of bring this to a completion for you?
Um, I just want to say thank you, Sarah, for opening up this opportunity to talk about this, our book, and to be such an amazing reflection for me, to be a mirror.
Come back to the
Yeah.
mirror. Yeah.
Yeah, it was an incredible experience. And um, I just love being in connection with you. And yeah,
So
I'm really
me.
grateful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good. Oh, thank you. Thanks for being here and thanks for just being so heartfelt and like willing to go there during this interview and sharing your life and your journey. So,
Thank you. Well, you make it easy. So,
well, I'm glad
yeah.
about that. Then that's great. All right, I'm going to turn that on.
Okay.
But thank you so much for being
Thanks,
here.
Sarah.